Alrighty, 4 in a row, and possibly even more. I'm pretty much running out of things to say if you hadn't guessed from the previous one, so, yeah. Things, yada yada, like, yada yada yada, story, good luck, have fun, and a quick thank you to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Data Magnet, Cat Crab Lobster, Duck Machine, Try Again 95, Astray the Dreamer, Mesic, Budic Joel, German Chemist, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos to Must. Thank you very much. Let's listen to a story. The Care and Feeding of Humans, Part 22. The difficult we do immediately. The impossible takes a little longer. Human saying. Dubuque, Review of Ontological Species Studies, The Care and Feeding of Humans. Quoting Humans. Published by Glass and Steel, The Care and Feeding of Humans. Translation Engine 3.14159. Neref woke up, hearing Zoe's voice, hard and angry. Use the power cell, Ellen. Just use it. Ellen's voice was soft. Zoe, even if any of us had the technological know-how to open up your arm, there's no guarantee that we could get your power cell out in one piece, much less make it work in a system that is not compatible with your arm. Neref could feel a small tongue licking her face, and someone was washing her hands. She opened up her eyes. Hey, you, Teref said quietly. Teref was evidently the one washing her hands, and Fubsy, of course, was washing her face. I don't care, Zoe said. If there's a chance, do it. Nate saw Neref watching them and nudged Zoe and tipped his head towards Neref. Zoe walked over to Neref and crouched down. Hey, Neref, how you doing? I'm fine, really, Neref said, and tried to sit up. Whoa there, Zoe said, holding Neref down with one hand against Neref's chest. I don't think you should get up. Really, Zoe? I'm fine. I just fainted. That's all, Neref said. We're working on a way to get you back to the med center of the ship, Zoe said. I am fine, Neref insisted. Neref, you're not fine, Zoe said. We scanned you, and there is evidence of spores in your system. Just lie still, please. Zoe looked at Teref, who nodded in reply to whatever Zoe had said with that look, then got up and turned back to her argument with Alan. Zoe, Querif interrupted before Zoe could start again. Alan's right. I've looked up the specs in your power cell. We can't make it work. Alan and I are not ground station engineer specialists. I'm a shuttle pilot, and Alan's into electronics. We can't do it. We're just going to have to walk back to the shuttle. 3 days, Zoe, Nate said quietly. He turned his back to Neref, trying to hide his words from her. I don't think she can last 3 days. Neref closed her eyes and felt Fubsy's tongue start the rasping wash again. Fubsy, Teref said, his voice soft and sad. Fubsy, leave her alone. No, Teref said, she's fine. She opened her eyes again. It won't be 3 days, Zoe said in a firm voice. We can do it in 3 hours. 3 hours, Nate said, in disbelief clear in his voice. Yes, Zoe said, and fixed Nate with a terrible and powerful glare. You know why? Because we're the motherfucking humans. We are the badassest creatures in the galaxy, and we can run from here to the shuttle in under 3 hours. Nate nodded slowly and smiled. Okay then, let's do it. Zoe, Alan said quietly, the Rifts would never be able to keep up. I know that. Zoe turned to glare at Alan now. We'll carry them. Carry them? Alan nodded slowly and smiled. Okay then, let's do it. You can't carry us, Neref protested. Oh yes we can, Zoe said. And when she looked at Neref, her gaze was cool and confident, and something else that was just a little terrifying. We have bones that are stronger than your building materials. We're from a planet that makes gravity here a joke. We are the scariest persistence predators that you will ever wish to avoid. And most of all, we do not give up. Zoe turned back to everyone else. Leave everything here. Dress in dark clothes. We leaving in 5. Leave everything turned out to be impossible. Nate remembered the samples that Neref had taken, and without saying anything to Zoe, slipped them into his pockets, with a wink at Neref. No one asked Zoe if everything included Fubsy, who refused to be detached from Neref anyway. Zoe seemed to not notice. "Shoot anything that gets in our way," Zoe ordered, as they closed the door to the ground station. "And move out." Zoe carried Nerf, of course. Nerf carried Fubsy. Alan carried Quirref, and Nate, of course, carried Teref. They used something called a piggyback, which meant that the riff sort of rode on the humans and sort of clung to their backs. To Nerf's surprise, the humans didn't start out at the fastest speed. She'd seen them work out in the gym and knew that they could run faster. But the speed didn't vary. They just kept moving, and it went on and on. Zoe's body grew wet with sweat, but she didn't slow down. Nate and Alan let Zoe set the pace and ran with her. Nerf noticed that they were running together, right foot, left foot. Their combined impact of their feet made a sound that seemed to notify everything in the woods that there was a force to be reckoned with. A silence grew around them, and Nerf could hear only the breathing of the humans and the rhythmic sound of their feet hitting the ground. Right foot, left foot. Fubsy was asleep. Her claws sunk into Nerf's clothes. If she felt jostled in her sleep, she sunk her claws a bit deeper, but didn't wake. They broke through the trees and could see the shuttle ahead. "Pick it up," Zoe said, and even though Nerf couldn't believe it after all this running, the humans started running even faster. "Nerf, get that door open," Nate said, with pauses between his words. Quirref pulled out his compat and opened the door of the shuttle. "Light her up and switch on comms," Nate ordered. "Done," Quirref said. They loaded into the ship, Zoe, Alan, and Nate gasping for breath as they came to a stop in the shuttle. "Belt in," Quirref ordered. "Let me talk to the ship," Zoe said. "Go," said Quirref, as he started to lift off. "We have a medical emergency," Zoe said. "What's the nature of your medical emergency?" said the voice over the speakers. "Nerf has been infected by spores. We need a level red biohazard isolation setup for Nerf, and all the rest of us too, until we can be decontaminated and declared clean." Zoe glanced at Fubsy. Nerf had stuffed Fubsy in a bag and had been designed for a first aid kit, the contents of which were now dumped on the floor. "We also have a Xeno carnivore with us," Zoe added. "Look at what followed us home. Can we keep her?" Alan said in a rush, before the voice on the other end had a chance to say anything. There was a silence, followed by a sigh. "This is the captain. We were a little concerned when we didn't hear from you for several days, and our sensors showed a large-scale storm activity. We have an isolation meta-chamber set up for you. Welcome back." The shuttle docked with the ship easily. Nate, who'd fallen asleep during the trip, woke up with a loud clunk sound of docking. They had to wait in the ship while the decontamination wash and UV light was played over the ship. They emerged directly into the isolation medichamber, which had been fastened to the shuttle door. Tiv and her crew were wearing isolation suits, and through the speaker installed in the hood, called Nerf over to the window where a large-scale scanner was set up. "I have the initial scans on the compads," Zoe said. "You'll need the data." The medical team didn't respond to Zoe. She marched over to where they were standing and said, "Data! We have some. You need it." Something about a tone of voice called Tiv's attention. "Please upload the data, Miss Zoe," Tiv said. "Then please stand back so that we can finish our current scan of the Lynae friend here." Zoe hastily stepped back and then uploaded the data from the compad. "We also have samples of the spores," Nate offered. Zoe looked at him in surprise. Nate shrugged. "I figured leave everything only meant leave everything not important." Tiv was eager to have the samples for testing. After scanning Nerf, everyone else had to be scanned one by one. Even Fubsy, who was now out of her first aid kit bag, had to be scanned. She had ripped her bag open so that they couldn't stuff her back in for the scan. In the end, they scanned her by putting her in a place of the scanner and then distracting her with a makeshift toy made of gauze from the first aid kit. Once the scans were done, Tiv ordered a full decontamination for everyone, even Fubsy. "And, how exactly are we going to make that happen?" Alan asked. "I'll do it," Zoe said. She picked up Fubsy up in her right arm and headed to the decontamination. She stopped before entering and dialed her pain sensors down. Judging from the pitiful wails, Fubsy was not a fan of decontamination. Once the decontamination and dressed in new clothes while the old ones were being destroyed. "I like that shirt," Nate muttered. Tiv came to the window and asked a full accounting of the spore behavior. Then she left. I actually do feel fine, Nerv said in a quiet and embarrassed voice. Let's keep it that way, Zoe said. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this video.